Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated. We do it all.
How long have you been doing the podcast?
Well, this is like our back to starting it again.
Okay.
Yeah, we went on a break.
Well, this is episode 31.
Episode 31.
We've been doing it since the
I feel like you're so far away.
end of June.
Ehud's, we got this long table between us. I don't know.
This feels like a professional operation, though.
Well, it's Ehud.
It is.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
This is not you.
No, this is not me. I'm the front man.
Yeah. I heard you say that thing where you go through albums where you want to do everything.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you're like, someone do all this stuff?
Oh, please, just somebody do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished the second Arthur Buck record, and this guy Jackknife Lee, and oh my God, I keep spacing on the other guy that mixed it. Can we edit that?
Yes.
Oh, we've started.
Yeah, we're
The old. This is the old podcast trick. It's already started. Yeah.
Let me look up his name.
We don't let you talk to the host before I press record.
Yeah.
It's already been going for 15 minutes.
Yeah. You keep in the bathroom break, right? Just a long.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we
90
did it.
We
seconds.
did an intro and you were in the back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did an intro. It was a lame intro
Really?
for a great guest. I gotta say, we're glad to have you.
Are you gonna redo it?
I'm a little nervous.
You are? Why?
I don't know.
We're both from Ohio.
I know. That's
Just keep that. Just remember that.
I know. Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what part of Ohio are you from?
Columbus.
Oh, okay. I'm from
Yeah.
Akron.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. But yeah, so Jackknife Lee and Matt Bishop did the whole mixing and even are sequencing it and everything, and it's just such a relief.
Yeah.
People make better decisions. Other than
I sometimes
me,
feel that way
think.
because I do so many things. Like when I'm acting, I'm like, oh, I just have to show up and do this scene and get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And you guys will figure out the rest.
Isn't that great?
It's great. And then sometimes I go into control freak mode and I want no, I want to do everything.
Both are good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you did that with your film.
I did 2 films.
Yeah, you did 2 films.
Yeah.
Which one? What are those called?
Happy, Thank You, More Please was the first one, and Liberal Arts was the second one.
And you directed and wrote?
I wrote, directed. I was in both of them stupidly. I don't recommend that.
Oh,
and
really?
Then, well, no, it was great, but I don't really want to do it. I found my favorite parts of the movie were directing scenes I wasn't in.
Uh-huh.
So I'm hopefully about to direct a new movie that I did not write a part for myself in, which is great. Yeah.
It's kind of like what Sean Penn did in The Crossing Guard. Remember?
Oh yeah.
He wasn't in that.
He wasn't in that. He wasn't in Into the Wild either.
Oh, really? Well, but isn't that a documentary? No.
No.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
Emil Hirsch. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to go that route. Direct and write something and not be in it.
Yeah. But I'm acting in something now, which has been super fun.
What are you acting in? Rise.
No, Rise is done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's this crazy, awesome show for Amazon called The Hunt. It's about a rogue gang of Nazi hunters in 1977 who are hunting out Nazis who are hiding out in America after the war. Like instead of going to South America or hiding out in Europe, they came to America. And this is actually true that the U.S. government, in the war with the Cold War, they didn't want the Soviets to get all the great scientists, and so they brought them over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
isn't the head of NASA, wasn't he?
Yeah, Werner von Braun.
Was started by an SS.
There's a plot point of we go after him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it's a super cool show. Al Pacino's in it, and Carol Kane, and all these amazing people. So
that's rad.
And I'm playing a movie star called Lonnie Flash, who's he wants to be like Pacino or De Niro, but he's like turning into Burt Reynolds. Like he was a coke addict, and he's just like he's done all these B movies, and he's trying to get his career back, but he's killing Nazis to kind of save his soul.
That's a fun character.
Super fun. I did have a mustache and chops and but I had to shave it last week to go undercover and infiltrate a Nazi plot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that's
I'm
cool.
without it right now. Yeah.
Lonnie Flash.
Yeah, it's a great name. Nay Leonard Flashenstein.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's kind of reminiscent of Quentin Tarantino on a few levels.
Kind of. When I watched the Nazi thing and also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was
right. Once Upon a Time
reminds me of when I watched Leonardo DiCaprio's, I was like, yeah, me and Leo, we're always doing the same
neck
thing.
And neck.
Yeah.
Did you like that Quentin's movie?
Did I like it? I you know what's weird? It left a weird, really kind of acidic taste in my mouth, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it and talking about it with people, and I'll probably watch it again.
Right.
You know what I mean? Did you see it?
I did see it, yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I mean, I don't know about spoiler alerts, but I didn't see the plot twist coming.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I love that he's reinventing factual things and fictionalizing them.
It's kind of like, it's a great like film megalomaniac thing. He's like, I can do with history what I want to do with it.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
I like it when, I was just listening to something you were writing or saying where you said like, I forget, it's a quote, but be cool in your life so you can be crazy in your art. That's me paraphrasing.
Oh no, it's actually like a Flaubert quote or something, but I quote it all the time, which is like, be regular and orderly in your life so you can be violent and original in your work. I think it is. Yeah.
I like my adaptation of it. Be cool in your life so you can be crazy in your work.
No, I like that. That works. That's the 21st century adaptation.
That's the bumper sticker.
Yeah. That fits on the back of the car. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Awkward silence.
What do you got?
Well, I got a lot.
You said Rise
actually.
just ended.
Rise ended.
Second season, right?
No, we just did
First?
one season.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. And
it was one of those
it?
I thought was going to go for years. It just had such a good vibe about it, and it felt like it was such a great, a great show about art and kids and values and like everything I would want to be putting out in the world, like in the Trump era, you know, and. Yeah, it just felt like it got ground up in the gears of, network politics and all kinds of stuff. So it didn't go. But then, I don't know if you find this with your career. It's like everything I think is going to be one thing ends up not to be the thing. And then something comes in that is so weird and special and interesting that you're like, oh, if I was doing that, I wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of, I have a lot more faith. I got out of grad school at NYU in 1999, so I've been acting professionally for 20 years. So I feel like that's enough of a sample size now that I can see that jobs will come. I still feel pretty employable. I've been doing this for a while. I don't feel like it's a fluke that I get employed. My imposter syndrome is a lot less.
Yeah, well, it should be by now.
Well, but it lasted a long time.
I know because of the huge success. That kind of like... I think that's jolted you in your perspective because most people, like all of your not quote unquote huge successes would be most people's huge successes.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But you had this like cultural show, which very few people.
Right. And I do think that did destabilize me.
Your parameters, I would imagine.
Well, you also, I throw a lot out there, and there's this kind of feeling of like, why that and not this? You know what I mean? Like, it's confusing, and also it's a little weird that the thing, Ben is great. Like Ben Lee, he told me like How I Met Your Mother's like a huge hit of a musician. You're a musician. He's like, it's a huge hit song.
Yeah, it's a hit
song. And
at
every concert you do, someone's going to scream out for that song.
Yeah.
And you have to both thank and honor that they're probably, a lot of those people discovered you because of that.
Right.
And you might have to play that song. You probably will have to play that song.
Yeah.
And then they'll hear your other stuff.
Yeah.
But it can also be like a bit of a burden. I started writing I hope I finished this script, but I started writing a movie about a guy who was in like this band when he was younger, and they had this massive hit that he hears everywhere. But he's like this really interesting singer-songwriter who's doing really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And he's haunted by this thing, and he has this mentor character
Yeah.
who says, you're so obsessed with being a one-hit wonder, but all you focus on is the one hit. You forget about the wonder.
Yeah.
Like there's something great about a big success.
Is that your line for the thing?
I wrote it, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think it's good.
It's a good line. It's a movie line.
It is a movie line.
But it feels like there's something in there.
I like it.
Yeah. It treads that line of like, is that too much or too something? But we'll see. We'll see. It's also like whenever I write those great lines in editing, I'm always like, let's cut that line. Like
the vulnerable lines like that are sometimes the best ones. I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's super weird to have that, but I also know at this point my life is a reaction to it, and a lot of interesting things have happened as I've kind of surfed the wave of that.
Yeah.
Just going deeper into being like an artist who makes a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I don't have to have a day job. Like I can make stuff.
Yeah.
And I think about the liberation of that is pretty massive, and I don't take that for granted.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm the same way. I
Yeah.
don't take it for granted, but I feel like I'm always duking it out in the sort of this is going to sound, I don't know, negative, but in the minor leagues in a way, or just like you know, like I haven't had a huge hit,
Right.
but I've had a long career where I've been supported just by my art
Yeah.
and music and stuff, and I feel incredibly grateful for it.
Yeah.
But I still feel like I'm like working towards something. So, but there's not a big shadow looming over my shoulder either.
Right,
really,
right.
you
And
know?
there's benefits to both ways of, you know, having had it happen. But
Yeah.
either way, to make your living as an artist, especially in like America,
It's crazy.
is crazy. And
It
like
is.
you have to be like, well, that's a blessing.
Yeah.
Like that's fortune.
Yeah.
You know.
And you have to like practice gratitude, because also that helps manifest more things to be grateful for.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also am always kind of playing with the idea of like, what is a healthy ambition? Like, what is, you know, that fire in your belly that keeps you going and chasing some phantom thing? Like, because what I've found is like success, it doesn't actually feel like anything.
Right.
Like the carrot keeps moving.
Right.
Or you get on a success and you're like, but I didn't want it to be like this, or people think of me this way and I didn't want it to, like, there's so much you can't control that
Well, the mind comes in and
it
takes a dump on the party.
It's a
always.
dissatisfaction machine.
Yeah.
You know, always. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've just found like I've had to recalibrate like what gives me the joy. And it's certainly not like red carpets or photographs or publicity. It's like writing a song with Ben, like just sitting around and making stuff.
Getting in the flow state.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kick of it.
And the red carpet is insurance to be able to like keep getting in the flow state while not having to go like work at Starbucks.
Right. I had the woman who did my makeup from most of How I Met Your Mother. I used to tell her how much I hated like publicity and photo shoots, and she was like, "That's the stuff you get paid for. The acting you do for free."
Right.
You know, because there is a grind. Right, like there's John Patrick Shanley's this great writer, and he said I was at dinner with him and a bunch of people, and he was talking about like suffering and how the mind, you think you can escape suffering, and he's like, it's part of the deal, like on Earth. And he's like, the trick is like find what you love and then suffer at that, or struggle at that, you know. So I kind of found what I like struggling at, and a lot of people don't find that.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about how like what that guy said about, what was his name? Sorry.
John Patrick Shanley.
John Patrick Shanley.
Yeah.
If
He
somebody's
wrote
got three
Moonstruck
names, I
and-
can't remember.
Yeah, he's a great writer.
John, what
Yeah.
he said about sufferings. What
Well, he said struggle, actually. He's like,
Struggle.
struggle is part of the deal.
It
So
absolutely
just
is.
find what you love to do and then struggle at that, because you're going to be struggling at it. Like,
Yeah.
no creative person is like, oh, I'm just blissed out all the time making stuff. It's like some days are really great and other days are a grind. you know?
Right, but just even in general in life, like I've been listening, and this is a controversial name to bring up, but I've been listening on YouTube.
Here we go.
The Reverend Young Moon.
Jordan Peterson's like
Oh, yeah.
biblical.
I've listened to some of
of
him.
the
Yeah.
biblical lectures. He's particularly the biblical things. Like he does these 2-hour like Bible story studies on YouTube, and they're so interesting because it just really does like bring home that point that our time here on this plane of existence is not meant to be just like this, like, you know, joyride. Like interestingly, like I was listening to one about Cain and Abel yesterday, who were in fact like the first human beings, because Adam and Eve were like these beings from God. That's
Right.
not really a human being.
Right.
Like, and the very first human being was Cain, who was a murderer.
Right.
Like that's human
Right.
number one.
Right.
And not only a murderer, but he killed his brother.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for the worst reason possible, just straight
Like
up
as
envy.
as pattern setting
Like,
goes, that's
yeah.
pretty clear.
Like, that's where we're coming from.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of, like, if we set our bar like to where like, okay, Cain and Abel level,
Yeah.
you know,
Can I do better than
like-
that brother murderer?
or just how hard life is.
Yeah.
Like if your expectation of life isn't that it's supposed to be a soft ride.
Right.
I find that really gratifying. Like or just like I can get up and go, okay, let me go get up and do my 3-mile run into a yoga class as my big discipline thing.
Right.
Which is still cush.
Right.
Really. Like
Right.
compared to Cain and Abel.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right. I like what you're saying though about like I like going back to old stories and referencing the old stories because you see the rhyme, right? You see the harmony of like, oh, these, it's like that James Baldwin quote about like, I felt so alone until I discovered literature and realized that everyone throughout history had felt all the things I had felt.
Yeah.
And then there's something comforting about, it almost feels like, I don't know, you're shaking hands with people from the past, just
That's
like,
interesting. That's cool.
And then I feel like my struggles are not particularly unique. It kind of takes away some of my uniqueness.
Exactly.
But it also puts me in the family of man.
Yeah.
Humans.
Yeah, that's what I love about going to like, I know you're not supposed to say it, but like say 12-step meetings or something.
Yeah.
And when people are just speaking about their problems, it's like, to me, the spirituality of the room is like, oh, everyone is struggling a crazy amount.
Totally. And then there's identification where you're like, either you identify and you're like, I've felt that too, and now I feel less alone. Or if you don't, you're like, well, I can hold space. Like my compassion is expanded. Yeah. Because people got it bad.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so you got, I like learning about you because you're exploring all this stuff like meditation and also I read that you like are anti-porn too.
Yeah.
Is that still going on?
I will say this. I'm not anti-porn in that's a complicated thing. For me, it's not good.
By the way, we can edit anything
out.
If we go
I'm actually happy to talk about this.
Yeah, no, I like this subject too.
I feel like it's an under-discussed thing.
Yeah.
For something that, it's almost like dreams, right?
Well, porn is a weapon.
Anyway. But dreams, right?
Yeah.
People consider talking about your dreams as like frou-frou, like why do I care? Who cares?
Yeah.
That's a third of your life. You're dreaming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like porn has taken over a lot of people's
dreams.
lives.
Yeah.
Well, it's a big part of a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's something that people don't talk about. For me, I haven't looked at it in about a decade.
Yeah.
And
I'm about like 3-something years without it.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't mess with it either.
I feel like it's for me, it's so toxic.
That's why when I read that, I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to him about that.
Yeah.
Because that's my thing.
I've got like the brain that like can't detach from that. Like for whatever reason, like it's like Velcro on my brain.
I don't think anybody can for real though.
Well, it's like alcoholics like would say, a non-alcoholic would be like, why can't you have one drink?
Right.
And put it down. And I'm like with porn, I wasn't super down the rabbit hole with it even. I just knew for some reason I was like, this is not good for my brain. And it made me sexualize every woman in the world.
Right.
And I was just like, it took me farther from the person I wanted to be, like whatever hazy kind of person I kind of think like, no, I could be that guy on a good day.
Right.
Like porn put me in the other direction.
Yeah.
That's the way I could describe it.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys are hurting around it, and I've had people reach out to me from some of the stuff I've talked about and written about it, and I'm always really moved because it's such a vulnerable thing. And it's the way society is right now, it's like I think we're so lonely and we're so isolated. And what's happening?
They're just checking the system.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
I just think people are in a uniquely fragile place.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's certain things that can plug you more into humanity or into yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's things that really will take you away.
Uh-huh.
On top of the fact that, and I don't want to sound, I don't get on a lot of soapboxes around this thing, but like the scene around it is like, if you've seen any kind of docs on it or something, it's not like the healthiest people are gravitating to it in terms of the making of it. Yeah. So to me, it might seem like a minor thing, but for me, it was like a major shift in my life when I was like, I'm not doing that. And in fact, if it was like playing somewhere, I would avert my eyes. Like I'm super fragile around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, I think when you like step away from it and then accidentally, like if something props up on a feed or this, that, or the other, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
It can be shocking. I know.
It's like, whoa.
Can I ask you, like, what led up to you walking away from it?
Well, my whole life exploded about 3+ years ago in terms of just like discovering the mechanics around narcissistic personality disorder, abuse, and recovering from that. I had post-traumatic stress disorder, and I had been like seesawing through all these different addictions for so long. I would get lots of time sober, but then I would go back out and it would get crazy as hell.
Yeah.
And then so when the shit hit the fan in my life, I got I had to get vigilant about everything. And so then that's when like porn just was like, no.
Yeah.
Like I haven't drank since then. Like nothing like that. So it was just more just, and I was like quite addictive with it too. Like it wasn't just nothing.
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of people are with it. But,
Yeah.
I mean,
it's also like it's a kind of whack-a-mole thing. Like you start dealing with
Whack-a-mole.
one. Sorry, unfortunate phrase. But you take away one addiction. A lot of people I know who get sober,
right,
like turn into like either porn addicts or sex addicts because it's like they start acting out in other ways.
Well, true. Yeah. I mean, mine shifted now to like exercise and that kind of stuff. But I feel like if you put the engine of addiction towards basically positive ends, like those kind of things, I don't think I think it needs a new word than addiction or something. Even like I don't know, it doesn't really do.
Yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
Like I'm not running from something just because I'm like running a lot.
Yeah. It's cool. I think for more people to be on the record about that, because I also think one of the things that people say that they want to kind of keep it normalized, and there's a lot of money behind the porn industry. Is like a huge business. And
well, it's also a way to keep people shame-based and controlled.
Totally.
It's weaponized stuff. Like I don't know like how to say this smartly, but like I've like I don't know who did what, but like societies have like put it on their culture to control the culture because it keeps people in these addictive cycles, and they become more shame-based because they're engaging in shame-based behavior.
Right.
They know Big Brother's watching, so are they going to boldly say things that are like critical thinking things, or like boldly step out and take chances when they're like engaging in these like shame-based activities constantly?
Right.
Or are they going to be easy to control?
Yeah, that's
like
why I think it's like there is like an almost political dimension to it, where it's like I know there are forces that want me hooked to this.
Of course.
And I'm going to not be hooked to it.
Yes.
100%. I feel that way. I know you talked with Ben about that, but I feel that way about psychedelics too. If have you gone down like a Terrence McKenna thing?
Are you kidding?
Yeah. So
I have an apartment there in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
I have a summer house there.
That's a great, lose a couple hours on YouTube watching Terrence McKenna videos.
Oh, yeah.
The best, right?
Yeah.
But his whole thing of like, the dominant power structures like do not want you doing psychedelic. Like, why are they criminalized? It's because you take them and you go, this is bullshit. Like everything I've been told, and all the way our whole society is constructed, the inequality, the shame, the everything. Yeah, it just feels like this is nonsense. Bill Hicks, he was on that trip too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I love Bill Hicks.
Yeah, so fascinating. I sometimes think, what would he be saying right now? Like, he's a voice you kind of want to hear right now.
Yeah. He would have a lot to say.
He'd have a lot to say. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, our freedoms are being attacked a lot, I think, right now. And a lot of it is, like, the sort of political correctness thing. I mean, like, all the YouTube channels that have been taken down and, sort of silenced for quote unquote hate speech. I don't know, but last I read it was like 17,000 YouTube channels have been like silenced. I don't know, are there 17,000 like Nazi YouTube channels? I mean, or
I don't know,
because I read one that was like, I know this is like thin ice shit to talk about. I get it, like everybody, but even that energy you feel in the room, but it gets thin icy. Like it's like it's like no, I'm not, but it's like why should we in America feel that thin ice feeling? Like, that's weird to me. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Well,
it's also like...
And there was a keto channel I heard that got taken down too, like dietary stuff and things like that can maybe help health. Like if you, like getting out of carbs and like things that make you go seesaw dietary wise.
The sugar industry just
like that
shuts
stuff.
It down.
Like it's like it's just weird.
Yeah.
And I think the more like, I don't know, the more this stuff happens, the more it's being revealed.
Yeah, but I think that there's it's like the right has its nonsense and the left has its nonsense too. You know what I mean? Like they're absolutely policing and accusing, and
100%.
Everyone's just demolishing each other.
I don't identify with the right at all, except for that I just like freedom of speech a lot.
Right.
You know? And I think that's scary.
Yeah. It is scary. I mean, if you know, like I was raised Jewish, and anti-Semitic speech makes me real uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
I get it.
But at the same time,
I'm not for anti-Semitic
No.
speech.
I didn't think you were. But all the ACL,
Josh, you're gonna have to leave.
Oh wait, you're
Jewish? I didn't realize.
My co-host is from Israel, ladies and gentlemen. Okay.
But you know, all the ACLU lawyers who defend the neo-Nazis' right to march and stuff, those are all Jewish people,
right?
You know what I mean? So it's a really fascinating thing of like what kind of culture we want to encourage and what is allowed to be said. But it does feel, you know, I don't like this term, but like cancel culture.
Yeah,
you know, it's a little. But at the same time, there's people that I think should be canceled. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like I don't think
it's just who defines that.
And,
and that's the problem. And it's like you take down one person. Okay, the first one, is Alex Jones, but then it's 17,000 YouTube channels later.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this too because
then it's also Dave Hill.
Dave Hill, who's been on the podcast.
Who's a comedian whose Twitter account got canceled because he
made your
mama jokes to people who were like harassing him on Twitter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty sensitive. It's weird.
Yeah.
But
that's why I always try to go back to old-timey things. You know, like Marcus Aurelius or you know, Stoic philosophers or you know, any of the Tolstoy or someone or people who are just dealing with stuff, and they can offer a kind of corrective, you know, medicine for our time, because it feels like it's always been crazy. Like I know it feels like we're at a cataclysmic, you know, apocalyptic moment, right?
I don't believe it.
I don't know if I don't believe it either.
I don't think so. I'm with you.
I don't believe it.
I'm into the Stoics, and I think it's always. That's what I was saying about Cain and Abel.
Yeah,
it's always been.
And I don't mean
crazy.
to say this to negate people's pain in this moment. But if you look at someone like our president, I'm no fan. But if you read the Bible, it's like the good kings, there's like 2 of them.
Right.
Every other king was horrible. And everyone was under the thumb of terrible kings throughout history.
Marcus Aurelius.
He was like the one bright spot.
The only good guy.
And then there was like King David.
Had all that power.
Like King David was maybe good, but King David wanted to screw this woman and sent her husband into battle to die so he could sleep with this woman.
Right.
Like, you know, life is very complicated. It's always been so. And the trick, it seems to me, is like to find some equanimity and connection and inspiration in the middle of it. Yeah. You know?
I think the whole like 2-party system thing is also like in some ways a distraction and like what's it called? Like misdirection.
Well, it's also
because like have you heard that phrase, like no matter who you vote, the government always gets in.
Yeah.
And it's like seems like the same agenda keeps getting pushed forward no matter who it is, and it's like. And I think that society and the media wants people to just be like going like this at each other.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
And it's like I wish people would turn inward more and just cultivate their inner light more.
Yes, I agree with you, and I make serious attempts to do that. And yet, you know, if a columnist I really like writes like a Trump-hating column,
right? I
read that with much more enthusiasm than I read like, oh, this town in Virginia banded together and helped out a sick person. You know what I mean? Like I'm more interested in that. Hijacks my attention more than evidence of humanity's goodness.
Why do you think that is?
Well, they've done these studies and negative things cling to our brain like 4 times greater strength than a positive thought. Yeah. So the positive thought, you actually have to work 4 times longer to get it to cling.
Yeah.
And there's something about...
There's no kick to positivity.
I don't know. That also feels, you know, just to use a broadly
It's
defined...
like boring to hear somebody talk about positive stuff.
In a way.
You know?
Pacino said something on set where he was like... Pacino was like, if you're happy, don't tell people. You know what I mean? Like there's something distasteful about it.
Well, it goes back to Cain and Abel, because like what happens, and it says it right there, is like, Abel's all this cool dude, and look what happens. He's all happy and bragging about it, or like the story of Joseph in his multicolored coat. Right. Same thing.
But I also
Like
I resist this idea that the dark and the dysfunctional is somehow more real or sophisticated than something inspiring or heart opening. I resist that.
Yeah, I don't think it's more real, but it's just more entertaining, I guess.
Yeah, it's more captivating, and it also confirms some sense of dread, right? Like we all live with this sense of dread, and they're like, see, But I think to broadly define addiction, it's not just substances and porn and all that other stuff. It's also like our negative thinking, our political stress, worry,
is a big one.
Our political intractability of our politics is kind of an addiction. The media's fanning the flames of conflict is an addiction.
Well, because it spikes stress. Yeah, which is like,
which then
is a huge
fuels. Like think about it, like coffee sales go up, booze sales go up, cigarettes go up. Like stress eating goes up. Like a lot of our economy hums on this discontent and fear. It's super unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't know a workaround.
I don't know if we're gonna solve it in the next...
In a podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're doing something. It feels...
We're trying.
Yeah. So this has been
just
like
a couple of guys from Ohio and a guy from Israel trying over here.
Yeah.
Calm down, everybody. Damn, did I say anything that bad? Shit.
A couple guys from Ohio. We're the ones who's going to figure this out.
We're going to figure... Well, hey, man, it's Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson.
That's right.
They were from Ohio.
They're from Akron, right?
Actually, they just started the whole thing in Akron.
Okay, yeah. Was Bill an Ohio native?
No, I think he was a New Yorker who just came through Ohio like on
a blackout.
yeah, like a sales thing or something.
And there's that house in Akron, right, that everyone makes pilgrimages to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been there. I've done it.
I do think that feels divine to me. Those two guys.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, think about like how many lives that's helped out.
I mean, really, it's incalculable how many families didn't get destroyed, how many beatings didn't happen, how many drunk driving accidents didn't happen, how many homicides and suicides didn't happen because of that, because of those two guys finding each other.
That's true.
It's unbelievable.
It is wild.
Yeah.
And I guess Bill Wilson was into the old LSD.
He sure was.
I don't think like the big book thumpers want you to talk about
that.
They
don't.
Part.
He actually wanted to introduce it as like a 13th step, was to have a psychedelic experience, something like that.
That would be the 13th step.
Yeah. Well, isn't the 13th step sleeping with newcomers?
With newcomers, yeah. It turned into sleeping with newcomers. Yeah. Bill Wilson wanted to be everyone take acid.
Well, he also apparently slept with a lot of newcomers.
Did he really?
Well, he was.
What a scoundrel.
I don't know. This is let's not defame the man. He did amazing things.
We're kidding. We don't know.
We don't know. This is sheer speculation.
A couple of guys from Ohio shooting the shit, y'all.
But he definitely he did have those experiences. I think that was in the 12 and 12 they talk about his white light experience was I think like either LSD or something.
Was it?
He really believed in it, and he did it about 20 years after he was sober.
Yeah.
But you said you'd done Iboga?
Oh, yeah. Did I say that on the Bentley one?
Yeah.
I've done it twice. Ibogaine, yeah.
Is it something you'd recommend?
Oh, man. It's 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay?
Did you go to like a place?
No. This was a time when it was like kind of like around New York City because there was like lots of junkies like getting sober.
Did you do it with my friend Dimitri?
I know Dimitri.
You know Dimitri? Yeah. I'm gonna have to tell him. I say, Dimitri, at about a 45-minute mark on this podcast, you're gonna get a shout out.
Shout out Dimitri. That's hysterical, dude.
Oh yeah.
What a
I love
small
Dimitri.
world.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Wait,
yeah.
so
I didn't do it with Dimitri, but I did it with like somebody I think that was studying under Dimitri or something like that. Yeah, it was that scene.
That lineage.
It was that scene.
Yeah.
And so I ended up doing it, and it was just to deal with like lifelong addictive issues. I was so sick of my addictive vibe.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
and I just wanted to like, I wanted to just like explode it.
Yeah.
And it did, like that will do it. I mean, Ibogaine, it's like a 3-day wild.
Did your ancestors come to you? I hear there's some of that.
Yeah, all kinds of wild things. Like it's like this thing where it's like these visions where for one, you're like up for 3 days basically with, wide awake. And I had a pillow over my head because the room was so bright, even though my eyes were closed. And like, it was like that. And then all these like visions coming at you like really, really fast. And then it's like, deal with your sex stuff. And you're like, oh, no. But you don't. It's not a bad trip because it'll go like when you resist one, it'll go, okay. And then like, how come you always have to make an impression on people? And and then you're like, okay, I'll go into that one.
Right.
And then you go into that one and it takes you down this whole like train and like all these visions and it sort of explains something. And then like a shaman sits there and goes like and holds your skull and then it falls and shatters open and then he turns into birds and flies away.
Sure.
Like that type of
I
shit.
get it.
Like,
yeah.
and then like
then you did it a second time?
and then
Why?
and then you do go into like, okay, sex stuff. Like you start because you're there for 3 days, so you're not gonna resist. Like
eventually you're
just gonna go into everything, and then so it's like it becomes like this crazy level of therapy, like condensed. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
The second time I did it was sort of on accident because there was this thing.
I tripped and
I did it
fell.
by myself, and it was like this. It was supposed to be like I forget what they called it, but like not a full dose, like a re-up or something. But I went back into the space. It wasn't as long. I will say it was only like a day and a half, but I was on my own,
Wow.
It was still long, you
Yeah.
know, but like compared to normal psychedelics. But, and the thing is with those kind of things is I think they can like really like I think addiction works as like a cycle or this kind of thing, and it can break the cycle and it can enable you to like get out and like start rethinking your life and making positive changes. But if you don't really dig deep, also just in brass tacks, like I think daily discipline and stuff like that, I think you're gonna fall back into addictive things. I don't think there's a cure-all.
Right.
You know, a one and done thing.
Yeah, I always thought like I did a lot of ayahuasca over the years.
I've never done that.
Oh, you haven't?
I've done DMT.
Oh yeah, I've never done that.
Yeah,
just
that's
smoking
like,
it.
Yeah, smoking it, and I smoked the toad thing.
Oh, you did 5-MeO
with a shaman in Mexico.
Yeah, I have a couple friends who
that
are
one
real
is crazy.
Into it. Yeah, yeah. I still am so reverent about them. I still get so scared every time I do.
Oh yeah,
any of it.
Yeah.
I'm not like a let's just pop things and see what happens.
What was your ayahuasca experience like?
Well, I've done it a lot of times. I mean, I've done well over 100 ceremonies.
Wow.
Really?
But I went in Brazil in 2007, right after the second season of How I Met Your Mother, and I did 6 ceremonies over 3 weeks on this beach in Brazil.
Amazing.
And then I went to Colombia for a week or 10 days and did 3 more ceremonies. So I did 9 ceremonies on that break before I went back.
Unreal. Why were you going at it so intensely?
I think that going back to what we were talking about, like I think I got this thing I always thought I wanted, and I was more unhappy than I'd ever been. And I was like, what's going on? Like, why am I so unhappy? Why can't I find some peace in the middle of this?
Right.
And so I just went into it, and then in Colombia, I had an evening that was all about my drinking. Like the whole evening was about my drinking.
Like spirit people came and talked to you
I
about
just saw all my visions were around alcohol, and I saw how much it had me hooked.
Right.
And I didn't drink for 4 years after that ceremony.
Wow.
And then I've kept experimenting with drinking, and it's not, me and drinking are not compatible, I've realized. But I still have this idea that I'm going to be able to like drink like a gentleman, and it just doesn't work for me. So ayahuasca was the first thing that showed me that was an area of my life that needed some attention.
Interesting.
And I have it in my family, I have.
Yeah. Same.
And then it just became like my church. Like it just became a practice. Like I would do it a couple times a year. I hadn't done it for about 3 years because I left.
Takes a lot of courage.
Oh man, it really does. Every time they hand you that cup, it's just, you really feel like you're jumping off a cliff.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton from it. And if nothing else, I think I learned how to find my way back in my head to like center.
Yeah.
Like you have to follow the breadcrumbs back to yourself because you can be really out there. And I think the medicine is whatever technology is in there kind of brings you back.
Yeah.
But
I like that you call it technology.
it is though. It's a weird spiritual technology.
It's definitely like when you take stuff like that, like it's like, oh, there's massive intelligence in this stuff. It's like it's beyond.
It shatters your materialism. Your materialistic idea of like this is all there is, right? Only thing you can see, touch and measure, right?
These are our avatars.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. I mean, clearly he had done ayahuasca, James Cameron. That was like a big ayahuasca trip.
Was it? I gotta see it again.
I haven't. I only saw it once.
Think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even the landscape of it was so kind of technical. I mean, the way it is, but it's interesting. I didn't do it for about 3 years. I left this teacher that I was really involved in this community. And I just got back into it in the last year or so, and I don't do it with the ferocity and gusto that I used to.
Well, it sounds like you were real intense about it.
I was really intense about it, and I thought, you and Ben talked a little about this, but I got Ben into it. Like I brought him. Yeah, I
You're
brought
the
him.
one that.
Yeah.
Wow.
To blame for that album.
Yeah, I like that album.
That's a mean.
I'm joking.
No, I like that album.
I like that he did that.
Yeah, that album's rad, actually.
Yeah, it's
but
cool.
Welcome to the work.
Yeah. But
so you're the guru of that.
Well, I just brought him.
Yeah.
And then we got into it, and I don't think we'd be making music together now if we weren't like so deep in that world together.
Interesting, yeah.
And
now it makes sense because it goes like something about like you guys started working together. Ben said something because of your like shared searching, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I should have read between the lines. We did a lot of ayahuasca together.
Yeah,
I should have known.
But I think we both have a very kind of measured idea about what that is and what that was. Like I still really value my time in that space, and I'm super grateful for it. And at the same time, I used to be such a proselytizer about it. I was like, everyone should do this.
Yeah.
This is what the world needs. And I now see that that's like a rookie mistake. Like you drink it, it's incredible. And you're like, we need to get all the politicians to drink this. Like you think that it's going to save the world.
Right.
And the more you do it, the less you're sure of anything.
Right.
Because it kind of, one time you're sure that it's this, and then the next time you're just like, no, it's not that. It's so vast, the landscape. So I think it's really great for, like I've been in like resentments or arguments with people, and I'll do a ceremony and suddenly I'll see their side of the story, and I'll be able to offer a real apology.
Wow.
Like it can grant you access to a perspective that's not your own. And I think that's really valuable.
That's healthy.
Yeah. And I think it can highlight areas of your life where maybe you have addictions or blind spots, but it's nothing that a good dose of meditation and exercise and therapy and yoga can't also do. So I don't know. I ultimately had to admit to myself, like, I like altered states of consciousness. Like very simply, like I like being altered.
Yeah, I think everybody does, though.
I don't know. I mean, some people really don't.
Some people like
really
it more than others.
Yeah, I have that thing. There's something in my chart actually. It's like Saturn or Venus rising or something where they say it's like the shaman's sign, but they also say you have to be careful because it's the addict sign also. So I
think I have that same thing.
You want to stay in those altered states,
Yeah. Well, that's why I like to do it in a more like, I like the whole sort of running yoga thing because, and I also like microdosing, I think is cool too. Like it's mushrooms, like here they're just a little bit, just to like, it just like elevates. But it doesn't like blow your mind, and
I always want to go macro.
It doesn't. I don't like. I'm less like that now. Yeah, because I did so many heroic doses already, like of things, like and I'm just kind of like I don't want to jar myself too much.
I get it.
I want to keep. I like the sort.
Were mushrooms your thing? Like, was that what you would do a lot?
Oh man, I did a lot of that. Yeah, as well. Yeah.
Am I allowed to say stuff?
Are you at?
Well, no. Wasn't there a time when you were on mushrooms for like 6 months straight?
Like a year, I think.
Year.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And he went on Jimmy Kimmel on mushrooms and played with the Twilight Singers.
Wow.
I remember that story.
Oh, okay.
When they played $40.
Right.
That was during your period?
Well, I was always on it then.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I did a period of a year where it wasn't even microdosing. It was like
Right.
every day a
Heroic.
dose.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was wild. I don't, like, again, it's like, it sounds like, though, you've approached psychedelics with a similar intensity, and I think it was...
Well, no, because I've never done an extended period like that.
Yeah.
I approach them with reverence, and I do them fairly infrequently, all things considered.
Right.
But I always go into them with, like, deep intention.
Mm-hmm.
I try to carve out a kind of sacredness around it.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, I'm taking this time, and I'm plunging in.
Yeah.
But I'm also open to, like, going to a cabin, doing them with friends, and having that be the thing.
Yeah, I would do them alone a lot. Like it wasn't a party situation, but it was then the addict did take over that sort. This was also like over 10 years ago,
Yeah,
right?
a long
Like,
time.
Would you write music in that space?
Oh yeah. Like,
2006 maybe.
yeah, it was like a long time ago that
Yeah.
I did that. But and yeah, so I think it's because of that kind of thing that I like am much more conservative with it now.
I think we're right to be. I mean, even if you're doing them, without addictive tendencies, like I think being more measured and careful about when you do them with and who you do them with is wise. They're powerful,
They are.
You also
powerful.
don't want to find yourself in the wrong. Like I was with the after Colombia, I went to Peru to this, one of those kind of touristy sites.
Yeah.
And I was in the jungle with this madman. And in the middle of these ceremonies, I was like, I don't feel safe with these people.
Really?
And you don't want to feel that in the jungle.
No.
Like, that is not what you want to be feeling in Peru.
What brought you with the madman?
Just like looking online and being like, oh, this has a couple stars by it from,
It was like an ayahuasca thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I think this guy's been revealed to be like a pretty crazy dude.
Right.
It was fine. I lived, and I lived to drink another day, but it was scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a little kick of like, oh, I'm like this suburban Jewish guy from Columbus, Ohio, and I'm in Peru with this madman. I feel like Colonel Kurtz, in Apocalypse Now. I'm like, whoa, this is like intense. I'm having my like insane, I felt like my life was kind of sheltered and safe. And when I discovered ayahuasca, I'd traveled all over the world, and I was having these like out there experiences, and I felt like I was gathering adventure and risk.
Right.
Like I was really, and I think there's also something interesting about doing psychedelics when your brain is formed. Like when 14-year-old, I don't know if they should be messing with.
I
this
did
stuff.
my first heavy psychedelic trip when I was 15.
Yeah.
And it was probably kind of young.
Yeah, but, I mean, your brain is really literally not formed.
Probably.
Yeah.
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 Out of all those ceremonies, was there ever like, other than the madman, was there ever a bad one where things didn't go well, or I don't know how to.
I don't know. By the end, when the ceremonies closed, I never felt any of them were bad because I always found my way back.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some totally harrowing moments. Like there was one where we were at my friend Katie's house and I couldn't stop screaming. But I was screaming like, oh my God, because it was so overwhelming. They had to move me into another room. And I remember it was like almost like a horror movie. Like I was in like a maze and I kept running into dead ends. Like I couldn't find my way out of it. It felt like my mind or my ego. Like I could, like I was trapped. Right. And it was so scary. And at some point, and this is where the kind of grace or the God or the miracle comes in, you realize the only thing that's going to save you is like God, whatever you decide that is.
Right.
Like that was the only thing I could rely on at that point was like,
Right.
I need supernatural help.
Yeah.
Like I need a miracle right now to get out of this.
And did you reach for that?
I did.
And what did that look like?
Well, it was weird because I was actually fine halfway through the ceremony. Like the first half of the ceremony was outrageous. Like I barely
Screaming
remember.
in the maze.
Yeah.
That's funny because I wrote a book called The Echo Maze.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I was in.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then halfway through I talked to, the teacher, and he said, what was going on for you? And I told him everything. And I was like, and I think I'd like a little more medicine. And he laughed at me. He was like, no. Now is the time for you to rest, is what he said.
Wow, that's
he
funny.
wouldn't give me any more. That was the only time he ever like denied
And why
me.
did you want more?
Because I was totally fine, and there were like 4 more hours left to go in the ceremony.
Oh.
And I just didn't want to sit there. I was like, I'd rather kind of go back in and surf some more waves.
Yeah. So, but
know.
you reached for God, or
I think,
Yeah.
that was my memory.
and you
Of
prayed or something?
totally, yeah, absolutely praying, just for some relief or some
Help.
port in the storm. You know.
Yeah.
I remember I did a ceremony. When was this? It was like 8 months ago or something. And I also got really lost. I felt like I was kind of on the high seas, like I was just out there. And I remember not having any sense of a lighthouse or a port or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, just think of one thing you love, like one thing
Mm-hmm.
that'll help you get back to yourself. And I just thought about my older sister, who I have a really sweet relationship with, and
Mm-hmm.
I know she loves me. Like, there's no question in my mind that she loves me, and I love her. And when I thought about her, everything started to calm down. I found my way back.
That's great.
I'm having this very weird experience. I just have to. Maybe it's like the buzzing on the floor.
Oh, it's drums.
Oh, okay. So someone's
Downstairs.
playing drums, but we're talking about all these altered states, and I
You feel
came to in the middle, a minute ago, and I was like, I was somewhere else for the 5 minutes, but I know we were talking.
Yeah.
But I feel like, when you talk about it, you get on that little wavelength.
Yeah.
I feel like a little bit altered.
I feel altered
Do
too.
you? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's up, dude?
Is there something?
I don't.
That's what's supposed to happen
Yeah.
in this podcast.
We haven't given you anything.
Is there anything in that water?
You brought
I
your
brought
own
my
water.
Oh, I did put some drops of LSD in here. I totally
my
forgot. No. Yeah, but anyway, I've had all
Imagine-
sorts of experience.
Imagine if we did drug our guests.
Look, there's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
podcasts out there, and that would be a way to distinguish
That's a
yourself.
hook.
That would be a way.
That's a hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the guest doesn't know they're being chemically altered.
Yeah.
Everyone else is in on it.
Word would probably get around.
Right. How would you keep that a secret?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to film all the episodes
Yes,
in
a
advance.
full season,
Like a
yeah.
full
Yeah.
season, and then let the cat out of the bag. That's like
it's good for
Sacha
one
Baron
season.
Cohen's
Yeah.
next move.
It's good for one.
But then
But
there'd
then
be
you'd get
there'd be
arrested.
some
You'd
people
have
that
to-
you'd be like,
yeah.
they didn't seem different at all. You'd be
Right.
like, what's going on with them?
the shaman, or when they talk about those gurus that take acid.
Oh yeah,
and they're
Ram
like,
Dass's guru. who
nothing
took
happened.
The,
Oh yeah, the
yeah.
Ram Dass story. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing happened. I wonder how true that is.
He said he was with him for 12 hours, and he just taught, and he was
Yeah.
twice he did it.
That's interesting. So,
Yeah.
so has that something you've always done? Because I've always prayed to some kind of God my whole life as a form of coping.
Yeah.
Is that something that you also?
Yeah,
are
I've
drawn
never
to?
been. I've never been like, there's nothing.
Right.
Like I've never ever. I for some reason I've never felt alone. Mm-hmm. In some fundamental way, like even when I'm alone,
Right.
I feel some presence with me.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. I just
Yeah.
feel something around me or in me.
Yeah.
So I've never, and when I talk to people who are atheists, if I really start asking them about their atheism,
yeah.
I'm always like, you're not an atheist.
I know. They hate the Bible.
Yeah,
Which
you
is
hate the-
fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not God.
You hate
That-
the Bible and you hate the Sunday school God, the
Yeah.
God in the
Exactly.
old man in the sky. Like I hate
Exactly.
that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the Big Bang, to believe in the Big Bang is a crazy level of faith too. Where does that come
That's
from?
a McKenna thing.
Well, is that what he says?
Oh, yeah.
I know that's not an original thought.
No, but it's
it
so
is-
great what he says. He's
What
like,
does he say?
He says, the hard swallow built into science is this notion of the Big Bang.
Right.
He said, this is the idea that everything sprung in an instant from nothing. And he said,
Right.
it's no different than a being saying, let there be light. And he said, what science is essentially asking is
Same
for
thing.
one free miracle.
Right.
And he's like, well, he goes, if science gets one free miracle, we all get one free miracle.
Yeah. Yeah, just all you got to do is go, okay, even believe in the Big Bang.
Right.
What made the Big Bang? Something can't come in reason. Something can't
In
come
physics,
from
nothing can come from something can't come from anything.
Can't come from nothing.
So
right.
what are you
it's
talking-
like,
yeah.
So it's like there you go.
Yeah.
I look at science like science and God aren't mutually exclusive.
Right.
Is that the way to say that? It's like science to me is the blueprint and God is the house.
Right. Right. Yeah, and I feel like science and spirituality are just on this collision course with each other, and a lot of things that we call spiritual or miracle will be proven somehow.
Right.
I read this awesome thing that this mathematician said that a miracle is a 1 in a million event. right? That's what we call a miracle. And he said, you have about 1 million moments in a month. So on average, you can expect in your life 1 miracle a month. Mm-hmm. Which I thought was amazing. Like,
say that
just
again.
Okay.
I think I
you're
went
still
on
you're
drugs.
still tripping.
I think I.
So
I
this
think I
math-
flashed back to 10 years ago.
This mathematician said that a miracle is a 1 in a million event.
1 in a million event,
Right.
And then so you have a million.
You have 1
events
million moments in your
in a
your
month.
month. So you can expect one miracle
a month
every month.
That's cool.
Essentially, so you get 12 a year.
12 miracles a year.
Yeah, which is not bad. I'll take that.
I like that. That's a good song title.
12 miracles a year.
Yeah.
Let's write it.
Yeah. Or that could even be like an album. 12 miracles a year. It could be a Broadway musical. You get 12 miracles in a year. 12. It's January miracle. Anyway, whatever.
That's your Broadway improv go-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were on Broadway, right?
I've been on a couple times.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
In musicals or plays?
Graduate.
I did The Graduate,
Graduate.
And then I did this play Disgraced on Broadway a couple years ago. I was supposed to do this musical She Loves Me, but I dropped out long before we started. And so yeah, I mean that was when I discovered theater, like at 15 or 16 in high school. That was like it. Like, I just wanted to be on Broadway.
Yeah, that seems like amazing.
Yeah. It definitely it's still a kick. Yeah.
But Kathleen Turner was
Yeah.
in the, wow.
Yeah.
How old were you when
I was 27 when I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rad.
How was it working with her?
It was complicated, but good, you know. She's a complicated person, but she's a great actress, and she and Alicia Silverstone had to approve me, so I'll always be grateful for her. And she came and saw Disgraced. Like I bump into her every once in a while. She's always really nice.
Yeah.
But there's still a real kick to being on Broadway. It's as romantic as I hoped it would be.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then. And then you go to these restaurants near the theater, and all the maitre d's know you because you go in, every night. And you're on Broadway, and they're like, they have a table for you. And it's like, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And all your friends, come and see you, and you get to know the other people on Broadway at that time.
Right.
Because it's a community.
Yeah.
It's like this whole bustling community of artistic people in a couple blocks in Midtown Manhattan that's going on every night. Mm-hmm. It's super cool.
What was that movie that just came out not that long ago with Michael Keaton in it?
Birdman?
Birdman.
Yeah.
Is that that's the closest I've come to Broadway is watching that movie?
I mean, kind of. It's like it felt real. What felt real was like the backstage and the dressing rooms.
Is
and
that like the vibe?
Yeah. That's what it feels like. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I only saw that movie once and I really liked it, but I can't remember if something about it felt not like Broadway, but mostly it felt kind of true, like in terms of they got the smell of it right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like the energy. And similar to our podcast with a drum soundtrack, it had that drum soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That movie was impressive, I thought.
It really was.
Although I when I finished watching it, I was like, I really love that. I bet I'll never see that movie again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Because it was hard work.
It was work. It was like
work.
You were in it. And
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was almost, it was, and Ed Norton was in that.
Yeah, he was great.
I'm a big Michael Keaton fan.
Me too. I've always loved him.
I just love that guy.
He's so great. He's got that kind of like, I think Robert Downey Jr. has this where it's kind of just this weird electric magnetism like on screen.
Yeah.
They just look like they know like a little bit secret, like they just did something a little mischievous, and only they know.
Yeah.
And it makes them very watchable.
Yeah.
But he's one of the greats, I think, Michael Keaton.
Definitely.
Yeah.
My favorite is Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
That's on Broadway right now.
Oh, right.
Is Michael Keaton the best Batman?
I don't know about that.
Maybe.
Or is Val Kilmer the best Batman?
I think it's Clooney. Even he would say.
But you haven't seen Robert Pattinson yet.
Oh, that's
He's
right.
coming up.
Is he the new one?
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know. Oh, he was really good in this movie.
That
about,
Safdie Brothers movie?
Is that? Yeah, that was
yeah,
great.
I need to see that.
He was actually really good in that, so maybe he can pull off Batman.
Do you watch a lot of movies?
I sort of do. I don't know how to. I mean, I did watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I used to more,
Yeah.
but like lately I don't as much because I'm always like, I don't know, I just go down educational rabbit holes on YouTube a lot.
Right.
What about you?
It's weird. My producer Jesse and he went to high school with me. He's produced both my movies, and we always talk about like, if we don't see movies and we make them,
Yeah.
who's seeing them? You know,
Right. There's so many entertainment
But that's the
options
same with
now.
musicians who don't
don't-
listen to music really and keep making it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you listen to a lot of music?
I don't know.
That's a no.
I mean, I listen to like I end up listening to a lot of hip hop music, and like I'll also listen to mantras. I'm big into mantras.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I listen to most of my stuff when I'm running.
Yeah.
And a lot of time I'll put on a mantra because then it'll take me into meditation.
Totally.
And so then I can get inspired.
Yeah.
You know, whereas if I'm listening to sort of like, I don't know, the new Brockhampton album, which I like, you know, or something like that. Like, it's cool and it gives me energy.
Right.
But I'm not meditating. I'm not like receiving inspiration then.
And you're also you're stepping into the artist world,
Mm-hmm.
whereas I think a mantra will allow you to be like go deeper into yourself.
Yeah.
In a way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I try to watch television, and I watch like 2 episodes of everything, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't have 12 hours to give to this thing.
I know. It takes too much time.
But
to
I do like
focus.
Atlanta. Have you ever seen Atlanta?
Oh yeah, that's great.
Fantastic.
I haven't seen it all though.
Okay.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, like I've watched a bunch of episodes and
Yeah.
then drift into something else. There's just so many options.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working with this young artist named Grandma who's like amazingly talented, and he's like putting up new Instagrams that are just like now like young people with Instagram. It's like they're genius. Like he has a green screen, and it's like I just call him up. I'm like, dude, this is like genius.
Yeah.
And it's an Instagram post.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and he was talking to me about like, yeah, man. Well, now with like, you know, young people that are really like serious about becoming artists, like that want to live like we live, like getting to create. They know how competitive it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, with Netflix now, there's like endless amounts of shows. Everything's the highest quality that's ever been.
Right.
And along with music, and everybody's competing against everything. It's not even just music competing against music. It's like just to get attention.
Right.
And so people have to like, I don't know.
But
where I'm
that
going
feels
with
like
that.
good in a way. That's
Not
like
bad.
that's like creative free market.
Yeah,
like
I don't think it's bad.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's people pushing each other.
Yeah.
It also
Like-
oversaturates the market.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But there's also people have told me that, you know, the accessibility of kids being able to learn guitar from YouTube and
Yeah.
being able to have these programs that you know we didn't have this growing up. Like
No.
even the ability to look up chords at the thinking like, oh, I like that song. What are the chords?
Right.
Like these kids, when you see what these kids are doing on
Oh, yeah.
guitar at 14, it's unbelievable,
Yeah,
right?
or even producing music, like this
Yeah.
artist Grandma. Like I work with him, and he produces on his laptop, and it's just like watching somebody who's playing a video game that's amazing at a video. Like he just makes these amazing tracks, just like one after the other, and yeah, it's interesting. I think it's cool. It's advancing everything.
Yeah. But I found for me in making music, like I still when I love a song
Yeah.
and I look up the chords,
Yeah.
it's almost always C, F, and G, just
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I there's something so heartening to me about that as someone who's like kind of pretty late to the songwriting game, where I'm like, oh, I actually like simple things.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I really like the simplicity of like classic songwriting.
It's like Lou Reed said, any more than 3 chords is jazz.
Is jazz?
Is jazz.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. Did you read that Lou Reed biography that just came out like last year or something? It's really good.
I have it upstairs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't read the whole thing.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm super inspired by Lou Reed just because I'm like, that was a Jewish suburban guy. Like, how did he become Lou Reed?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was friends with him.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Didn't he live in this neighborhood, or he lived?
Well, he
around-
lived in like in the West Village.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is she still there, Laurie Anderson?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
They were like
I would
pretty out and
imagine
about,
so.
weren't they? Like
Uh-huh.
they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lou was out all the time.
Did you know that like Václav Havel and the whole like Czech Revolution was like they were obsessed with the Velvet Underground?
Who is that?
Václav Havel was he was a playwright, and he became the first. I think he became the first like prime minister or president of the freed Czech Republic.
Uh-huh.
But he was like the Nelson Mandela of the Czech Republic, and
Really?
he helped free them from, communism.
Yeah.
And he and all his compatriots were like obsessed with the Velvet Underground.
Right.
And they would go out into the forest, like miles into the forest where no one could hear them, and they would play covers of Velvet Underground. And it was so weird. It was like, for some reason, this guy writing about, meeting his heroin dealer in the village or, uptown became like the soundtrack to overthrowing this government.
That's interesting.
Yeah. They played...
why do you think that is?
I think it was just like the pulse of that music and the...
Yeah,
I mean, I listen to, Velvet Underground and I'm like, I want to overthrow a government.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It's like when
it's-
somebody's like tapped into like their expression so like astutely,
Yeah.
that's such an inspiring force.
Yeah.
That it's like goes beyond whatever even the subject matter is. It almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, they were invited in the 90s. They had their like a reunion in the Czech Republic, and it was just like madness. Like everyone, they didn't know. Almost like Searching for Sugar Man. What's that guy? Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Yeah.
Like he didn't know like South Africa was like
Huge.
obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And that's also heartening to me because you kind of never know who you're getting through to.
Yeah.
Like if you're not, Taylor Swift or something, like you don't have a metric,
Right.
but you literally just have people coming up to you and being like, I was going through a divorce or my father died and like your album was what got me through it.
Mm-hmm.
I find that just as meaningful, really.
Yeah, I was listening to you talk about that in another interview. You were saying like you never know, or that we're more like influential to each other than we give ourselves credit for. I really liked when you were saying that. Like,
Right. I think I was talking about like,
that's true.
like behavioral contagion. Like we're all
Behavioral contagion.
Yeah,
I never heard that expression before.
like we're all like pretty loud energetically.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
we're giving off a vibe or
100%.
something. And so that to me is like, can I be a little more conscious about what I'm giving off?
Right.
Both in what I put out into the world and just who I'm being.
Yeah.
That feels to me like how to be a solid citizen.
Yeah.
Is like be a little more conscious of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're either young or when you're in active addiction, your hungers are overtake everything.
Right.
So you can't be conscious of like, how am I participating in society right now? Because it's like, it doesn't matter. Like you're just looking for the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was also so ignorant to how I was contributing to the overall vibe of everything and how powerful when you do focus your energy and clear out the sort of muck.
Yeah.
It is empowering to others.
Yeah.
Even like if you don't promote it. I think like just
Yeah.
because we're all in like there's the back end of everything that's happening. Like if these are our avatars or whatever,
Right.
like we're connected on the internet, but we're also actually just spiritually connected.
Totally. Yeah. I used to be really, I didn't trust that I would come through, right? Just kind of silently.
Mm-hmm.
So I would come into every room. This is like in my 20s and probably even into my 30s, where I was like, came in like a leaf blower in people's face. Like I needed people to know like I was smart, charming, funny, like I needed you to know that quick.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't misjudge me as some sort of, I don't know,
Pretty boy.
inconsequential person. and I trust now a lot more in just like my presence, like to just be, what it is, like I'm more comfortable with silence, which is such a relief. To not have to feel like I need to talk all the time. You get so much from listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever mess around with Ho'oponopono?
I know about it. That's like the loving kindness meditation.
I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've
not like with any kind of regular practice, but I was really stuck around an argument, like a resentment I was having around someone, and I said it for a while.
So you've used it.
I've used it. Yeah.
How did it work?
I still have traces of a resentment, but it's not active it's not up for me the way it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some magic in that for sure.
Yeah.
Do you use that a lot?
It's like my go-to.
And do you say it in English or do you say it in?
Yeah,
is that Hawaiian?
English. Yeah, it's Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I say it in English. Yeah.
Over a specific thing, or you just say
There's
it?
loads of mantras on YouTube, and I'll like, there's some of them are like an hour long.
Will you send me some of your favorite
Of course,
ones?
yeah.
Okay.
And I run with them, and like,
I'd be into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nothing has cleared the sort of back end of the muck as much as that for me. Like, that's a simple practice, but it's like, and it really does invite inspiration, I find.
Yeah.
Like, you have a meditation. You're like a pretty serious meditator, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it goes in and out, but I try to do it every day,
it's like too much pressure, but
yeah.
But you
I have a meditation practice.
You have a meditation practice, right? It's like TM or...
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'm kind of open to learning a different practice. I've been doing it for a long time. And I don't... like... I used to think I used to be so convinced that there was some secret key that would unlock permanent joy.
Right.
Or permanent serenity. And I just don't know that is... A, true, or B, even advisable, like if you would want that.
Right.
Because so for me, like meditation or prayer or anything is just to kind of hit the reset button, and just kind of try to calm it down for that moment, or especially because of all the screens and stuff, like to just sit quietly with your eyes closed and not do anything. That's also feels like a revolutionary act in our society right now.
I think it is. Yeah. Definitely. Well, that's one of the things I like about yoga practice is because it just separates me from my phone. I wouldn't drink any more of that. I think you've had enough.
You're right.
Honestly, Ehud put more than 5 drops.
I went to macro with that last sip.
But the bodega on the corner is in with us. Is that where you bought that?
I got it at the hookah place.
Okay.
What's that place?
I kind of want to go there and smoke a hookah, man.
I love hookahs.
But I'm trying not to smoke.
Oh, yeah. I had I've been like, the Juul?
Yeah.
I gave mine away, like I got off of nicotine, but then every once in a while you like have a friend who has one, and then anyway. Yeah, nicotine.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It's a brutal one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you like in the sober vibes, or are you messing around with drinking and all that?
I haven't. So I took 4 years off drinking. Then I drank for about 2 years. Then I didn't drink again for about 3 years.
Did it go dark, or did it just go?
I don't think I ever had like. My bottom was like not a bottom.
Right.
Except, I got punched in the face twice, trying to sleep with this girl who had a boyfriend, and
that's a bottom.
Yeah, like
that could happen to someone who's not drinking.
No, I was hammered, and that happened in between. I had done those 6 ceremonies, and then I felt great, and then I started to feel bad, and I realized it was because I started drinking again the way I was, and then I had this super dark night. I got punched, and then I went to Colombia, and that was part of my revelation around the drinking was like, that's where it's taking you to that place.
So what happened when you got punched? Tell that story. Or do you not want to?
No, I'll tell that story. Okay. I'll tell that story. So I met this girl in Columbus. She was like a nursing student
in Ohio.
In Columbus, Ohio.
This is so Ohio. This story.
And I met her through some mutual friends, and she gave me her number and said, call me, we'll go out next time you're in town. And I think we talked on the phone once or twice. She was attractive, let's say. Yeah. And so I took her out when I was home in the spring, and we went to this, restaurant. We were downing cocktails, right? And she mentions a boyfriend, which in my memory she hadn't said, but she might have said. But I just didn't think that she had a boyfriend. But I was also like, who cares? I'm leaving town tomorrow or in 2 days. That's what drinking would do to me. I was like, I don't care that she has a boyfriend.
Right.
Like, why is she out with me?
Whereas if you're sober, you still might not care, but you would at least
you'd be like,
pretend to care a little.
This doesn't feel right. Yeah.
You would be like, you'd be resisting making the mistake as you made it.
And then we're at this other bar, and this guy shows up, and it was her boyfriend, and I don't know how he knew we were there. Oh, man. But he found her, and he tried to get her to leave with him, and she was like, I'm going to stay here. I'll catch up with you later.
Damn. I mean, that's the end of the timeout on this story.
Yeah.
If I'm her boyfriend at that point, I'm like, okay, our relationship is now over. God bless, and that's the end.
That wasn't how he dealt with it.
I don't know how fine she was, though. But still, I'm assuming she was crazy.
I actually went. She was.
I'm assuming it's like crazy level.
Yeah, I won't comment on that. But you'll know that I stuck around. Let me just say, after that, I stuck around.
Like, yeah, both of you were like
I took
handling
the punch and I stayed.
Like, yeah, you
No.
yeah, I should divert it to you and go like, yeah, at that point, you maybe should have been like, you know
Well,
what?
no, by the
Sober,
way,
you would have been like, okay.
what
I'm
I
out.
said was like, I think he has a right to be upset. Like, I'm sitting here talking to you. We're in a corner booth at
So
this
you
place.
semi-bro-coded with him.
A little bit. I was just like, I don't know. And
He
then
definitely did have a right to be upset.
we went to this other restaurant, and she'd turned off her cell phone because he kept calling.
Uh-huh.
We went to this other restaurant where and the bartender was like giving a shot, and I was so drunk. And the waitress came over, and she was like, oh, because this girl, she worked there, and she was like, hey, so-and-so, he's on the phone. He called the restaurant.
Okay.
So she was like, I got to take
But
this.
it takes
Can I
two to
time out this
tango.
story? Can I
mean,
time
it's
out-
not all his fault.
What, Josh's
yeah,
fault?
it's not-
I'm not blaming Josh
Right.
in the story,
Listen,
but I'm saying,
complicit in this.
I'm
I don't
saying
know.
time out on this.
Yeah.
She's got the boyfriend. He already confronted her. He's
Yeah.
called. She's turned off the phone. You then go to the place number 2, but place number
This
2
is place number
is a
3.
This place number 3.
Yeah.
It's a place she knows that he knows that she's involved in. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
could have
I
gone
think he
to
was just following us. I think
Oh,
he was
really?
like following us the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah. So he calls, and she comes back, and she's like, he's pretty upset.
You think?
And I was like, well, let's get you home. Like, let's get you home, right? So I was driving, and that's the super dark. I never should have been driving. I mean, anyway. So I drop her off, and we're in her parking lot, and this car comes up behind us with its brights on, and she turns around. She's like, that's him.
And at that point, are you like kind of shitting your pants?
Well, no, I was just like, well, this is what I said. I was like, well, you should go deal. Like,
you
as
know,
if it was her problem, right?
Right,
So
you
she
know-
hugs me, which is probably was bad because he sees her hug me mine. She gets out, and I start leaving the parking lot, and his car tears out in front of me and kind of blocks me. Like he skidded out in front of me. He gets out of his car. I'm in my mom's Toyota Camry, by the way, which is a great detail of the story.
Wow.
So he locks the car. I lock the car, but I stupidly roll down the window, right? And he was like, "Get out of the car," like meaning like we're gonna fight.
Right.
And I was like, "Come on, dude!" Like that's what I said. "Come on, dude!" Whap! He punches me right in the face, and
Damn.
I'd not been punched in the face before this.
Oh, really?
No.
And when did this happen?
I was 32.
Oh, this is a long time
It was a
ago.
while ago, like
Yeah,
12
yeah.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he punches me in the face, but I'm so drunk that I definitely feel my head kicks back.
Yeah.
But I don't feel the pain of it because
No,
I'm
you
hammered.
actually you don't feel a punch in the face, actually. It doesn't hurt. It's the after effect.
Right.
That's fucks you up.
But then I was so shocked, and I was just like, dude, I was not trying to sleep with your girl. Boom, another punch, and that one like blood everywhere. Like
Right.
he just got it in the right
Broke
in the
your
nose.
nose?
It wasn't broken, but it definitely like it just messed it up.
Yeah.
So then I'm like covered in blood, and he sees I'm covered in blood, and he just leaves, and I drive home like bleeding in my mom's Toyota Camry.
That's another song.
Bleeding in my mom's Toyota Camry. Yeah. And then I get home, and I'm, I blew something out of my nose that was like, what is this? Like, it was like, that doesn't belong in the tissue. Like, that belongs
Still in my nose.
still in my nose, or even higher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe that's brain.
Yeah, it was terrible. And then I called a friend or two, like West Coast people, and a friend of mine was like, I don't think you should lie down, like if your nose keeps bleeding.
Concussion.
So then I had to wake up my mom at like 4 a.m. or
Nice.
5, and then my dad comes down, and I'm dealing with, I'm 32 and I'm drunk, and I'm punched, and my dad gets this bag of frozen peas and puts it on my face. And I was supposed to speak at my college. Like, my dad and I were hosting this thing at Kenyon College, where I went to school, and we were gonna kick off their like fundraising drive. And I woke up in the morning, and I was like black and blue under both eyes, or one eye was really black and blue. And my mom was like, "Come here," and she put makeup on it, And I just showed up for this thing, and it was like this really dark moment in my life. And then she, the next day, was calling me, and I guess he felt really bad, and they were like trying to mend some bridges with me, and I was like, I don't want anything to do with these people.
Oh, he felt bad, and then he wanted to apologize.
I think he was trying to make up with her and all this stuff. But it was Yeah, that's where drinking took me. So anyway, to answer your question, I didn't drink for 4 years after I got back from Colombia. I drank for about 2 years, didn't drink for 3 years. And then for some reason last year I drank for about 9 months, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So I haven't drank since November.
I don't give a fuck about alcohol. Honestly, I'm like, I put it in a not an option category, and it remains there, and I'm fine with it remaining there.
Yeah. Hey, have you been to that Kava bar? Do you go there a lot?
Bro, that became like an addiction thing for me. We can go there afterwards.
I like that place.
You want to go there?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I'd go there again. You want to go?
I don't know what it is, but I'll go.
It's good. I mean,
if you want your lips to be numb.
You know who introduced me to Kava is Peter Buck.
Who's that?
He was the guitar player for REM.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I'm in a band with him now.
Oh, nice.
And so he goes to this Kava bar in Portland.
Yeah.
And we would go, like, working on the record, and then that's where because he doesn't really drink either, and we would just go there and start drinking it. But then when I moved into this neighborhood, the Kava bar on 10th Street was right around the corner. I started going there every day.
Yeah, I like that place. I've been there a couple times.
It is fun.
Yeah,
I'd be into going there again. I feel like I could like conservatively do Kava now, but like everything becomes an addiction.
Oh yeah,
so easily with me. But
that's one of those things where you're kind of doing. That's a subtle one.
It is subtle.
But if you have a couple cups of that and then you're walking in the street, you're like, I am on something.
It alters you.
Yeah, for sure.
It does. It definitely does. I have a similar getting punched in the face story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, mine was in high school, and it was same. I was drunk, and I was like kind of hit on the wrong girl.
Yeah.
It was the captain.
It's a tale as old as time.
Captain of the wrestling team's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And bad choice.
It was a really bad choice. And he was a friend of mine too. But they had broken up or something, and then she was like flirting with me at a party, and I walked by him with my arm around her, and just it was like this. From my periphery, I just see this. Like right in my temple, and it was like this.
Oh, 3?
Oh, it was
That's
just. It was
the wrestler.
It was done.
Yeah.
It was done. I just got pummeled, and then all of a sudden, like I'm on the ground and I'm just getting pummeled, and then all of a sudden I see all these feet of all these other kids coming, like running, and then they tackle him off of me, and it was just.
Oh wow!
But it was brutal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I had a similar thing, similar to like being in Peru with the madman. After I got punched, I had this like a little kick of pride where I was like, check that off, like life. Like I got punched.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where you're like, this is a life thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get punched a lot now because I box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm actually rethinking that. Because I spar. And when you spar, you always go, okay, we're going to go light, right?
And it's never light.
Well, it's light for the first round.
Yeah.
And then people get tired, and you can't help but you're fighting.
Yeah.
So it just happens, And what they know about head injuries and stuff like that are just like
they're not good.
Jostling the brain. I'm getting into Jiu Jitsu, I think, now. Because I like doing a fighting discipline too.
Yeah.
Do you ever do anything like that?
Not really,
Not
although no, I am interested. I just haven't figured out like when things come into your life at a time.
Yeah.
Like I keep them like, I think I'd like that, and I don't know, my Mr. Miyagi hasn't descended on me or anything.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, jiu-jitsu is an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because it's grappling.
Okay.
So it's it's not striking.
Right.
Which is good, and you can kind of like practice it up into your old age,
Right,
So
right.
it's like I don't know, I'm just starting.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know anything about it, but it seems like a popular one, and it interests me.
Yeah.
Kind of like rough yoga.
Rough yoga. That's funny.
Yeah.
To shift from fighting and violence and all that.
Yeah.
When we had the podcast with Ben, the one thing I regretted we didn't have time to talk to was the Radnor Lee project.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, let's talk about that.
So for you didn't. When you started doing that, I saw you guys early on, and Ben was playing guitar. You were singing, and you were dabbling. It seemed like you were dabbling with the guitar. You were trying to figure it out. Did you just say, okay, we're doing this. I need to learn how to play the guitar? How was that whole
What
process
happened
for
was
you?
we did this whole first album. We wrote like 20 songs in like 14 of them ended up on the and it was such a good, fun experience writing songs with him. And he's a great songwriter, but I
love him,
I also felt like we both brought something really interesting, and the alchemy of the two of us was like interesting. Just something interesting was always happening. We never got together and didn't leave with at least a song or a part of a song that felt promising. And then we toured a bit with it, and we went to Brazil, and like all these people. Oh, by that point, actually, I was playing. So what happened was I had like a breakup that kind of rocked me, and I have this, years ago with Ben, I bought this Gibson J45, and I didn't play it that much, but I was kind of hurting one night, and I just wrote this song called Foolish Gold, and I played it for Ben, and I barely knew how to strum. I was kind of like doing this flamenco thing, just all D chords, like variations, and he really liked it, and then I started playing it at our shows, and people really liked it, and then I started just playing a little bit more, and Ben one day was like, let's be a 2-guitar band. He's like, if you can play rhythm, I could do much more interesting stuff, and we'll get a much fuller sound. So then I just threw myself in. It's been like 2.5 years, and I play pretty obsessively. I play every day. I have a teacher in LA and New York, but I haven't taken a lesson in a while. But it sounds stupid to say, but like the more you practice, the better you get.
Yeah, no, I saw you a year later, and you definitely improved.
Yeah, I mean, I just did a show at Rockwood by myself, like my own stuff, because I'm putting out an album of my own stuff too.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's just been like this. I used to see. I've been an obsessive music fan for so long, and I used to see these singers that I thought I just wanted to enjoy them, but once I started playing, I really realized I wanted to be up there doing that. Mm-hmm. But I thought that if you hadn't learned how to play an instrument by 40, you were done. It was like, you're never going to learn. I thought it was like a secret thing that I just didn't know how to do.
Yeah.
And then I started doing it, and I was like, oh, this is actually not only doable, but I have some talent at this, like just some native talent, like at coming up with melodies, and I'm a writer, and I love rhythm and rhyme and all that. I've always loved that stuff. So, it's just been like this great shift in my life to have, in addition to all these other things I do. And I still feel like it's in the realm of what I do, which is telling stories. It's just, instead of a 90-minute story with a bunch of characters, sometimes you just want to write a 3-minute story that has a beginning, middle, and end, and that's what it is, and it's just an afternoon's work. And then you have it for the rest of your life. Yeah. You can share it with people.
That's cool.
It's been the best, and then this new record we're doing, we're going back to redo. When I get back to LA in 2 weeks, we're going to redo these 2 songs that we just weren't super happy with. But the rest of the album we love, and we're super psyched about this new one. And then hopefully, schedule permitting, we can do a little bit of touring. But I don't know that we're ever going to be like able to dedicate like a year to hit the road or something. Ben's got a family. I've got all this other stuff going on. So we just do it when we can. Mm-hmm. But it's just creatively, it's super satisfying. Yeah. Yeah, it's just awesome.
Well, it's true. It's like I like it used to be like people would just like go to college and then done with education. But I think now, with everything that the internet provides in terms of educational resources, I think people are like learning new crafts all the time, like up into their older ages and stuff like that. Yeah. Because also what they're learning about the brain and neuroplasticity, or however you say that.
Yeah, you said it right.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's cool.
It's cool, and it also, I remember when I started playing guitar, I had this feeling, the only way I can describe it is I felt younger. Mm-hmm. Like when you're a little kid, you're trying everything and you suck at everything until you don't anymore. Right. But that experience of being like a 12-year-old who's trying something for the first time, and then you actually start getting good at something, there's such a kick to that. And I think as we get older, we find a lane, like we keep getting validated for this thing we do, whatever it is. And so we stay in it, and it's so rare that we go outside our comfort zone to pick up another skill. Yeah. I mean, musicians probably do that more than, because I feel like musicians pick up other instruments, like that's a thing they do. Yeah. But most people, if you're in my field, like people just like, you might act and write and direct and produce, but you don't like pick up a guitar and become a songwriter. I mean, that's not true. Some people do. But it made me feel younger. It made me feel like I had a lot of years ahead of me of writing songs. There was such a kick to it. I don't know. It continues to be really fun.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Was it scary at all for you to be on stage, or you used to it? The Broadway Experience made it easier to just.
Well,
go
it was
up
weird.
there?
Like some of my
Brazil show,
skills.
there were a lot of people.
Yeah, some of my skills were totally transferable. Standing in front of people, being vulnerable in front of people, speaking into a microphone, in between song patter, and even singing was part of something I had already done.
Mm-hmm.
Standing in front of a crowd with a guitar, finger picking or playing was something I had to learn on the job. But having Ben with me, he's been playing since he was 12, and even when the show is not like killer, he's always so solid just because he knows how to ride the wave of like nerves or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's just good at being in front of people and playing music. So in a weird way, I got good at playing guitar by playing in front of paying audiences. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we went on tour with Rachel Yamagata before we did our album just to have some more time with the songs on the road. And I played on almost every song. And it was just like every show was just better and better and better. And I just felt more and more comfortable. Yeah. And it was super weird. Like, sometimes I'll have an out-of-body experience being like, dude, you're playing guitar in front of hundreds of people. This is insane. They can't know. And then Ben, at a certain point, he was like, stop telling people you just started playing 2 years ago. He goes, because you're at the point where you're good enough that it kind of looks dicky.
Yeah, it's
because
like you're bragging.
Yeah, like you're bragging. But
hey guys, I've only been doing this 2 years.
But the reason, no, I don't do that. Trust me, I don't do that. I'm not shredding it or anything. But the reason I tell people, I almost feel deceitful. I still feel like a bit of an imposter. So I want to tell people like, this is new for me, and we should just be happy that we're taking chances. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to enlist everyone in my vulnerability.
You want it to be like to compensate for maybe like lack of
a
professionalism
or something.
You want it to be also a motivational lesson for the audience.
Maybe, yeah.
Try new things, guys. Yeah. I'm up here doing new things.
Yeah. There's that great Miles Davis has two quotes I think about. Like, there's two Miles Davis things. One, he said, like, it's not the wrong note that makes you a professional. It's like the note after the wrong note. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you recover from a wrong note? But the other thing he said that really has helped me, not just in music, but in all performance, was he said, I never perform, I just rehearse in front of the audience.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, just that looseness of like, I'm
that.
just rehearsing and you're here, you can be here.
Yeah.
But I'm going to rehearse.
That's genius.
Isn't that amazing?
I've never heard that. That's going to help me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm getting into the beginner's mind with music right now. And like getting ready for my tour, because I'm getting ready to tour in October.
Just you?
There's a plug. October tour coming up.
Yeah, with Jesse Malin.
Co-headlining
nice.
Tour, yeah.
Oh, nice.
I got an album coming out October 11th.
Guys, I'm still here.
Hey, guys. By the by. And getting into like, because I started live looping back in like the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of rediscovering it. And it's like,
you've been off for a while.
Yeah, I've been off for a long time, yeah. So it's like getting that beginner's mind.
Was guitar your first instrument?
No, my first instrument was piano.
And how old were you?
And then bass. I was a kid,
okay.
Child and piano. And then I started playing bass when I was like 15.
Were you in bands in high school?
Yeah, I got into a professional band when I was still in high school.
Wow.
Cleveland blues rock band called Frankie Starr and Chill Factor.
Uh-huh.
We played like 5 nights a week in Cleveland bars. And
so that was your Germany, if you were the Beatles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was living an adult kind of life, really young. Yeah.
And so it always felt like doable to you?
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't start singing until I was 21, which is kind of late. But and then I started writing songs. So it was a journey towards same sort of thing, like my first time being a singer-songwriter. And I got discovered by Peter Gabriel. I made a demo tape that got to him.
Wow.
And then I came up to New York to like play a audition gig for him. And then he brought Lou Reed, who brought his DAT recorder to record it.
Whoa.
And I was like singer-songwriter, but I was really a bass player, and I really just started singing, so I was faking it.
Wow.
Basically. But it was an intensely pressurized situation. Like,
how old were you then?
I mean, I was probably like 24 then, something like that.
When was Come to Where I'm From? When was that record?
That was that's the second one. I was like 26, I think, when that one came out, or when I made.
I remember buying that record from Other Music.
Oh,
Do you
cool.
remember other music? Is that still there?
I don't think so. Is
on
it?
4th Street?
I don't know.
Because I remember they had,
Most
you know,
chances it's not.
they had
so.
all those like, employee recommendation, like that little things.
Yeah. Oh, thank God! It was
God.
It was so lonely here for a second.
Should we tell everyone what happened?
His mic went out.
It was.
Now we've lost the co-host.
I'll fix it.
Oh no, he's there now.
We got everybody.
Wow.
What were we talking about before the incident?
Pacino.
When this new project in Amazon.
Yeah.
That does sound amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
well,
it's really. I think it's a really good show.
When we started, you said that some things don't work out, and then something else does. You were talking about Rise, and then what's the name of the Amazon?
The Hunt.
The Hunt.
Yeah.
When you were brought on, was he already on the show?
Yeah.
What was your reaction to you're going to be on with Pacino?
Well, it started moving along that I was going to get the role, and then
Do you have to audition for it?
I did read for it because I think except for Pacino, I think they made most people read.
Except for Pacino.
Yeah, they didn't make him audition. But I didn't know when I read that he was in the show. I just liked the script, and I liked the part, and I liked the sides.
So you said yes before that.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted it.
When you say you like the sides, what's that mean?
Like, they'll give you, 3 or 4 pages that you have to audition with.
Okay.
Those are the sides.
So those are the sides.
Yeah, I don't know if did I read the whole script? I don't know if I did.
It's a portion of the script.
Yeah.
Called the sides.
But it was so weird, and it was such a strange role. This guy is not a role that people let me play a lot, and I keep looking for roles that are not what I played. And then when Pacino was in it, it was oh, sometimes you get in a project and something draws you to it, and then you're like, oh, this is a lot cooler than I thought it was. Yeah. I mean, I already thought it was interesting, but this director, Michael Uppendahl, he's directing episodes 8 and 10. Great guy, really good director. And he's having to direct Pacino in these very intense scenes, the finale of the... And I said, did you ever dream you'd be directing Pacino? And he's like, it's not even a dream I thought to dream. It's not something I ever thought would be.
Right.
And I was kind of the same way. It's not like he was on my bucket... Not that I have a bucket list, but it wasn't like he was on my radar as someone oh, I definitely want to work with him. But I've spent 6 months working with him, and it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And it's been great to be up close. I'm sure you have analogous situations with great musicians where there's something heartening about seeing, even though they're great, they he, for instance, throws a lot against the wall, and not all of it sticks.
Right.
And he just keeps searching and trying. And sometimes he's totally brilliant, but it's I hope this doesn't sound weird. It's it's great to see him not do a great take.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it demystifies him, and suddenly you're oh, I sometimes don't do great takes.
It gives you permission to take
But one
chances.
of the things, the reason, almost like that Miles Davis thing about the note after the wrong note, is he'll say, can I have one more? And then he'll be amazing.
Right.
Because he'll have learned from the previous one, or he'll figure something out, and it's he can shake his self-esteem is not dependent on his last take.
Right.
That's what makes him great.
Yeah.
Is he just keeps going, and he's really he's 79, and he's so hungry to keep doing good work.
Right.
He's really curious.
Yeah.
And he also likes to rehearse a lot, and he won't kind of let them light the scene and roll unless he really knows what he's doing. And that sometimes takes a while. But I never got annoyed. I was always I am acting with Al Pacino, and I don't care. This is fantastic.
Were other people annoyed?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that for other people. I think it's more... Sometimes other people shared his concerns about scenes, and other times people didn't. But to me, I knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime thing to work with someone who's just, so iconic and has done so much great and interesting work. Made me excited about acting again, to be honest, because sometimes I can get a little, the thing you've been doing longest, you're the least excited about. Yeah. And it just made me excited about it again. The combination of playing this part that was so wacky and getting to work with him and Carol Kane, who's the best. Carol Kane? Princess Bride.
Okay.
Humperdinck.
Yeah.
She was Billy Crystal's wife. She was on Taxi. She's
oh, right.
just this great comedian. She's a terrific actress and a great great person, and the whole cast has just been phenomenal.
Do you focus on your state of mind, like in terms of just like a daily practice or anything that's not to do with any kind of tripping aspect?
Yeah. I mean, I fail also quite regularly. Like I went through a phase with some friends where we were challenging each other, and this was so good. And I remember my weeks were way better, where we called it like the 45 Club. So it was like last 45 minutes of the day, beginning 45 minutes of the day, no screens, no phones, no computers. So, you'd power down, and then you'd have 45 minutes, like you'd read your book, or and then in the morning you like do your meditation, or like read a book, or do some yoga, like, and you could do what you wanted the rest of the day. Just those 45 minutes on either side were sacred, no screens. That really helped me, but I fell off that. I do it occasionally. I try to get back to it. I would like to be more diligent with that. But like I pray in the morning, or just offer up like a, just ask for some sort of kind of guidance throughout the day, and then I try to meditate. I do yoga or a different kind of exercise. Try to every day, and I read a lot of Richard Rohr. Do you ever read Richard Rohr?
Who's that?
He's a Franciscan priest. I just feel like he's the most clear voice for me about like spirituality.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. I'm gonna investigate.
I'll tell you some of his books to get.
That's great.
Yeah. I met him. I mean, I'm friendly with him. I did like this 3-day seminar with him in Santa Fe. That was awesome. Like last year or the year before, and he's like a proper elder.
And what is like his whole? What's his thing?
His thing is like, so he's a Catholic priest, but he doesn't believe in substitutionary atonement, meaning he doesn't believe Jesus died for our sins. Like he doesn't believe the central kind of deal of Christianity.
Why not?
Like, because he says that in Isaiah, God declared no more scapegoating, like no more sacrifices, that they're not required anymore, and that on some level, Jesus on the cross was like the reconciliation of opposites, and to show that God was in the game of suffering, like the suffering with us. Like wherever there was suffering, God is moving, suffering with us. Yeah,
that's very moving.
Very moving, right?
It is.
And
very
he says
moving.
Whenever liturgy says all-powerful God, he said it should also say all-vulnerable God. That God is like the most vulnerable, like whatever.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing I always thought God couldn't possibly know.
Well,
what it's like to be a human because of our frailty.
Well, again, if you believe Jesus was God, which I'm not, that's not my trip. But if you do believe it, Richard says, if God hates the body so much, why would he have taken one on?
Why would
in the form of Jesus?
Why do we think God hates the body? Or
well, all the shame from like all the religions and the shame around sex and body. Body's bad. We got to escape the body. Like he also doesn't talk much about heaven and hell. Like he doesn't believe that religion is what he calls an evacuation plan to get out of this realm. And he's like, I don't believe in that. That this is good. The body is good. Incarnation is good. He calls, Christ is spirit meeting matter. This is all Christ everywhere around us.
What about evil?
Evil's like, yeah, I asked him about that. I forget his, I forget it. Well, evil is the great.
Let's text him when we drink kava.
You trip up on that, right? Like evil, like why
evil
is there
fucks
evil?
Me up.
I know.
I mean, because it's becoming more and more weirdly, perversely evident in our like it's becoming more revealed. I don't even want to mention the things in which ways it's becoming more revealed. Here's that's how disgusting it is. But obviously people are performing like serious like dark rituals like that are like powerful individuals that are like that are just beyond normal people's comprehension.
But I think of it this way. I think that there is a balance, right? There's cosmic balance, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like it's just devastation and horror and converging crises and apocalypse, right?
By the way, I don't think that of life. I think people should like not feed into despair.
No, I agree.
And I think life is very light filled and wonderful, and I but at the same time, evil is an undeniable aspect of our experience here.
Right. Agreed. But I also think when it looks like all this stuff is on the rise, I believe somehow that all the other good, balancing, light-filled stuff is also on the rise.
Absolutely.
You know, and that sometimes I always think about this thing my meditation teacher, the man who taught me to meditate, this is back in like 2003.
I know you don't want to name him because you no longer take from him. I read that in another interview, or heard you talk about that in another interview.
Yeah, well, it's fine. You know, I have a complicated thing around teachers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So does Ben.
Yeah, we share that.
We had that whole thing in the podcast.
Did he try to bring you into that, into his guru at the time?
The Indian guru? I went to his wedding, so I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah. I never fell in love with that guy.
But don't lose your train of thought with what you were saying with your meditation teacher.
So he said, but like back in 2004, someone said, "Are we going to make it out of this? Like humanity? Like, are we gonna make it out of whatever's going on?" And he said, "Yes, but it's going to be a cliffhanger."
Wow, I love that.
Right.
And I think that's true.
Right.
And I think like that's why I'm like, you know, promoting things like Ho'oponopono and just like. The more people, and to your behavioral thing, what's that called?
Behavioral contagion.
Behavioral contagion, like getting more and more people just to like focus on things like Ho'oponopono or whatever brings them into that space of their own light, because that's powerful. Like, and I do think it's a cliffhanger. I don't think it's like this is like a weird. Do you think there's like a spirit battle going on here? Like between light and dark?
Probably.
Seems
I mean,
like
I don't know. I sometimes think, you know, like the rainforest fires are really hurting me. Mm-hmm. Like I just feel, because I've been down there and I feel a connection to those plants and the people down there, and the ignorance and the just cruelty of the governments and the just that, you know. Everyone paid, you know, $1 billion to get Notre Dame redone, and it's like, no, they can't get money to, you know, it just galls me, and yet I sometimes think like me being kind throughout my day and taking good care of my mind and myself is like I'm helping the rainforest. I don't know how I know that, but I feel like being a good human in the world and you know, staying sober in the ways I define sobriety is like I'm kind of doing something for the rainforest, meaning that every action has some sort of
ripple effect.
Cascade, right? There's a ripple effect. There has to be, because if it's all energy and it's all connected, you know, we're affecting people all the time with our thoughts and our feelings and our words.
Absolutely.
And I try to take care with my words and I try to put good things out there. It sounds like that's what you're doing too.
I'm trying.
You know, yeah.
Definitely trying.
That's all we can do.
That is all we can do.
And we're also gonna fail a ton.
Fuck up. I've definitely fucked up on this podcast already. And I'd like to just say I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you.
Same for
to
me
anyone
too.
I've offended tonight.
Yeah.
So I like your t-shirt.
Oh, thanks, man. I just got this.
Yeah, books are magic. Are you writing any kind of book or anything?
I am. I am. I'm stuck on it, so I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
But I am. I sold a book to Harper One, and they want a book from me.
That's amazing.
And I need to write.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I just like making things. And I'm probably a bit of a workaholic, but I get my biggest joy from creating things.
Yeah.
You know?
What do you think the purpose of life is?
I think something along the lines of like creation, inspiration. Creation and inspiration. What's the purpose of life? I don't know. It might be service. Like it might be helping other people. It might be, you know, Richard writes a lot about like men's initiation, you know, throughout all history, and how we're really hurting because we're not initiating our men properly.
Yeah.
And
what do you mean by that? Well,
like an initiation rite, like in indigenous cultures, you know, it was basically to teach a man about vulnerability or a young boy about vulnerability. And it was basically so they'd get, you know, your life is not about you, you will die, life is suffering, you know, like the hard truths, right? And when you get the hard truth about your own vulnerability and your own how little we are, you can actually then go about the business of being, you know, a good actor in the world. I mean that in the broader context, you know?
Yeah.
What do you think the purpose of life is?
I mean, it's like I think it's like creating yourself and yeah, like doing that to sort of promote light within other people.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying about the power of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever checked out any Brene
Oh,
Brown?
sure. I love her. Yeah.
That stuff is
Love
cool.
all that. Yeah. It might have something to do also with evolution, like evolving to, you know, like your dharma, like whatever your kind of sacred duty is, like finding out what that is and living in that.
Yeah.
And when we live in that, there's this great, I think it's Howard Thurman, this theologian, says, you know, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive and do that, because what the world needs is more people who've come alive.
That's what I love that.
Yeah.
Like, boom. That's like a boom thing for me, because I believe that entirely.
Yeah.
Like, what excites you, and where does that excitement even come from? Like,
Right.
If you question that, like,
and then other people, your excitement acts as some sort of sonar signal out, and you, especially now where we can really connect with people, you say like, okay, this is what I'm about.
yeah.
And then there's people that go, oh, I'm about that too.
Yeah, or you're
and then
helping me.
Yeah, you find your tribe, right? Like you get through somehow.
Yeah.
And then you inspire people, and then in turn they inspire you back, and then it's just this like beautiful feedback loop.
Yeah.
You know?
It reminds me too what you're saying about men's ritual, like in sort of the Bwiti where Ibogaine comes from.
Yeah.
Like when a kid becomes like a young man, they do like the Ibogaine ritual. I think they only do it once, but it's called the cracking of the skull.
Oh yeah.
And it's like after they've had their sort of the ritual of it, then the young dudes go off into like huts, and they like meditate on what the visions told them for like 10 days. I don't know how long.
Right.
Actually, I can't remember. It could be 3 weeks, or it could be 10 days. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a significant period of time. And or maybe it's 3 days. I don't know.
We'll ask Dimitri.
Yeah, Dimitri would definitely know. But and then they get food and sustenance brought to them. But then when they come back and they reintroduce themselves to the tribe, they tell the tribe what their new name is, and no one ever calls them by their old name.
That's
again.
all straight up. Richard talks about all that, the new name, the shedding of the old. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the whole point of like bar mitzvah in Judaism. It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But they're really, and he talks about, you know, if a kid is not acquainted with powerlessness, when they get power, they'll misuse it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you see it in our president. It's like, it's a guy who absolutely doesn't understand how to wield power.
Yeah.
He's just like a child.
Yeah.
You know, he's never been properly humbled. And in a weird way, I think the presidency is his humbling.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's
I do.
it must be I hope he's being humiliated. I that's a harsh thing to say, but I mean that in a spiritual context.
Right.
You know?
Humbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, humbled is probably different than humiliated.
Yeah.
But
humbled is nicer.
Yeah. I hope he's being humbled.
Should we? I want my new name to be Daddy Longlegs. Is everybody okay with that? I'm just kidding. What's your new name?
I don't know. You go first.
Don't look at me.
We don't have cards for Josh.
Oh, we don't.
What are the cards?
Oh man, we forgot the cards.
What are they?
It's just a thing we do on the podcast. Oh yeah, here we go. The cards. We do have cards for Josh.
I just pick one.
You just pick one.
Name 3 things you're grateful for and why.
That's good.
I can do that. You know, I've lost some friends, and I have a friend who's pretty sick, and I find like a new appreciation for just my physical health, like my actual working body.
Right.
Like I try to remember like not to take that for granted.
Yeah.
So I feel grateful for my working, functioning, all things considered, pretty, you know, it's doing its thing, body. I'm grateful to live a creative life.
Yeah.
That I get to wake up and like making stuff is like what I do. And I'm grateful for friendship, like new and old, just like community, kind of tribal ties, like the tribe I've kind of found in the world.
Right.
You know, old friends, new friends.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what mine says. When do you feel most secure?
You've had that one.
When do I feel most secure? Jeez. That's a tough one. I don't know.
What'd you say last time?
Spencer pulled that one.
I don't know.
Forget what you said.
When did I feel most secure? I guess when I'm...
Oh, I know what you said. You said you don't feel secure.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't really. I honestly don't think I do feel secure very often. I guess what I was about to say, though, is like when I'm in a flow state in making stuff.
Yeah.
I guess, like, you know, because I feel locked into my purpose.
Right.
When I'm taking... Oddly, I guess maybe when I'm taking chances and putting myself out there in a scary way. So it would be almost like I feel most secure when I feel most insecure.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds a little too fake deep, but...
No, I get what you mean.
That's good.
Well, it also, the flow state, you lose yourself on some level.
Yeah.
So you're not even self-conscious enough to feel secure or insecure because you're not quite there.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a relief in that because your
Super.
neuroses disappear, your self-consciousness is gone, and you're just like being used by something bigger than you.
Yeah.
And there's a kind of security in that because you're resting in the bigger thing.
And maybe you're feeling the presence of God.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where security lies.
Yeah.
Like when you were in the echo maze and it was like the only security you could find was like, okay, to me, like when that's the gift of like when everything goes like pear-shaped or like really bad in your life and there's no sort of regular human security around. That's when you're forced to like actually pray. I mean, at least for me, that's the only time I've like, you know, you got to almost be brought to your knees in order to really sort of like rise up
Right.
on some level.
Well, Richard says, you know, we only learn two ways: great suffering and great love are the only two things that teach us. And he said, without suffering, we wouldn't change.
Right.
So suffering can be this kind of irritant or this instigator to get us to move and change.
Yeah.
Because it kind of says like, oh, something needs shifting here.
Yeah.
Something needs to be rethought.
Yeah.
You know.
Does the world communicate to you like when like cars roll by with like signs on the bus? Do they speak to you?
I can
like
actually tell when I'm in a state of connection,
right?
Because synchronicities are everywhere. And when I'm not,
just a couple guys from Ohio talking about psychosis.
Yeah.
No.
But when I'm not, I can really feel that I'm like, oh, I haven't seen synchronicity. Like I'm kind of not in the. I'm not dropped in.
I have that with numbers because like, oh, I'm getting 555 or I'm getting 333 or this, that, and the other. But then when I look at my phone, just like I just did, and it was 556, I'm like, what's up?
Yeah.
Like it has almost a reverse effect.
I also love like being like guys from Ohio don't really jam on this. Like my high school friends don't talk this way, largely a couple,
right.
But mostly I really like that. There's something about being an artist that it allows. Who was I just talking about? I heard someone who was talking about this. Oh no, I was talking with my friend Will Cotton, who's a painter, and he's like,
heard of him.
He's great, but he's like, I'm pretty scientific, but he's really mystical around his art. But I said to him, like, you actually have done enough scientific research into know that when you do this, you get this result, even if it feels woo-woo and metaphysical. You've still researched it enough to know that that's a pattern in your life. You know, he really liked that idea because it. But I like that artists, we give ourselves permission to like say like, oh, there's those 4 numbers that mean something to me, because I'm always looking for like little winks from the universe, like, hey, you're on the right path, and also that weird thing like I'll think someone will pop into my head and then either, you know, I haven't seen them for years and they'll call, or I'll see them on the street and it's like some foreshadowing of someone that's in your orbit.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't consider myself particularly psychic, but I know that I can manifest certain things if I'm thinking about them.
Yeah,
you know?
Everything's consciousness.
Yeah.
And like if you are paying attention to the universe to communicate with you, it will communicate with you.
Yes. and if you are not open to that, that's why sometimes when people are like, they don't believe in God, right? For instance, I'll be like, well, you're just talking about not having God experiences.
Right.
But mine are undeniable. So it might actually mean that for some people there's a God and some people there's not, and that's just a thing. Or, like they say in the steps, like conscious contact with a higher power. It's like, I always think that that's such a weird thing. It's like, there's always unconscious contact. The trick is like, can you make it conscious?
Yeah.
Can you turn the light on where you're like aware of it? Can you see it?
It reminds me of meditation when you you get into like deep states of meditation, and what that really means is actually just being right here, right now, like present, right now. Like that's, and I find that odd because in a way it's the opposite of deep. It's actually just right here, right. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like the deeper you are, the more right here, right now you are.
Right.
And it's like, that's the point, which is, I find in and of itself is psychedelic.
Right. And then I'm also amazed at, truth being the most simple thing. Mm-hmm. The most simple thing, or love. Mm-hmm. It's like the most simple thing. And it actually renders you mute when you get up close to it.
Right.
There's nothing to say.
Same with meditation. Like when you're right here, right now, there's
nowhere to be. There's nothing to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you guys are adorable.
I know, we kind of are. I'm feeling that way too.
Wait till our lips go numb from the kava.
Yeah. Do I have to pick one?
No, we can. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. That was a good place to wrap it up, actually. Right here.
Name one thing
right
that
now.
makes you nervous or uncomfortable, and explain why. We're picking cards because I don't have good answers for them.
Yeah, that card.
What was the other one?
What's the other one? Go with the other one. That goes against the cards.
What does activism mean to you?
Oh,
Do
no.
you consider yourself an activist? No.
But I mean, activism. Yeah, I don't know. We've covered it all.
Yeah.
I feel like we've covered it.
But before we wrap it up, when is your new show coming out?
Yeah,
it'll be on in February of 2020.
Oh, next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're gonna. I think they release.
Are you allowed to talk about it? Can we?
Yeah, we can talk about it. I mean, it's been
The Hunt
released
on Amazon.
That I'm on it. The cast. People know the cast.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question? As a director and an actor and a writer, being in something with Pacino, do you what did you learn from him, or what is that experience then that you're going to go direct your next movie? What you see, does that set the bar really high for every other actor you're gonna
No, because he works differently than every other. He works differently than a lot of people. He's his own thing. I think just staying in that creative exploratory space and not. He certainly doesn't come in and be like, I'm an Oscar winner, I'm a legend, therefore everything I do is good. Right. Like, he's humble. He's like, yeah, I didn't get that one.
He's got the beginner's mind.
He's got beginner's mind. That's right. And he's open to the fact that he's open to the possibility that he might be a charlatan, fraud. You know what I mean? Like, that's humility. Like, it's incredible.
It just made me think of what we had Michael Imperioli on.
Yeah.
And he was talking about everything he learned by just watching De Niro in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And how De Niro just approached everything, and everything that he picked up was that was the origin of my question.
Yeah. Some of the stuff you steal, I wonder if it's the same for music. Some of the stuff you steal without even knowing you're stealing it, like little things just seep in. Because I think as a creative person, you're actually the sum total of all your influences, right? Like they're in you, and you, like, as a writer, at first you're imitating your favorites, and then it goes through you enough that your own voice emerges. Yeah. So I feel that way I used to steal from actors all the time, and I don't even remember who I've stolen from at this point, but I know that I am my own actor at this point. Right. And I'm sure that I've had some osmosis with Al or something.
In 6 months.
I don't know. I mean, something of I feel like my work as the series goes on just got better, and partly that's just because I'm getting better at playing the character, and that's just natural progression. But it was a fertile, like, creative, not just Al, but like there were just good actors around, and the story was compelling, and it felt like we were, it's a good time to hunt Nazis.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hunt some Nazis. I definitely want to be an actor and hunt Nazis, man. I'm jealous.
Well, I want to be a musician. And
you are one.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
But you're inspiring me to take on new things, too.
Cool, man.
I want to get into some comedy and all that. I keep saying that. But anyway, listen.
Hey.
Thanks for doing this.
Great
Josh
talking
Radnor,
to you guys.
Amazing dude. What's your, do you want to do your Instagram and all that kind of stuff?
I'm on Instagram and Twitter, but I also, if anyone, I do this monthly or bi-monthly, rather, every 2 months I'll do this thing called a newsletter where I write a kind of essay. That's kind of a dry word for it, but I just write about, where I'm at and where I'm stumbling and what I'm learning, and I kind of try to make some connections, and then I recommend things I'm reading, things I'm watching.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, so a lot of people really seem to enjoy it, and the sign up is on my Twitter or Instagram page. There's a link, you can sign up, and it's like literally once every 2 months.
So just at Josh Radnor?
At Josh Radnor, both of them, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
And Radnor Lee is
Radnor and Lee is at Radnor and Lee, yeah.
Facebook, Instagram.
All that.
Yeah.
All right,
cool.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good talking to you guys.
Drink some kava.
Cool, man.
Hi, this is Joseph Arthur. Thanks for checking out Come to Where I'm From. Please support us on Patreon, patreon.com/come to where I'm from. We are an independent podcast, and any contributions you can make are greatly appreciated.